We've made no bones about how we feel regarding DC Universe's Swamp Thing, but now that the show is over and we've both finished the series, how does it fare as an overall narrative? We're talking Swamp Thing Season 1, the final season. I'm David C. Roberts, and this is my co-host Jason Goss.
Hello.
And we are DC On Screen, where we talk about the DC Comics multiverse on film and television, give honest opinions, and believe that every version of a property is valid, even if we really don't want it to be. If it's been released, it is fair game, so beware of spoilers. Welcome to the show. First off, real quick, thank you to our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/DCOnScreen. To go support us over there. I guess you can find it through dconscreen.com.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we have we've been pretty brutal on Swamp Thing.
Yeah, and in the moments we've talked about it, largely brutal.
Yeah, and it should. I felt like this was kind of perfect.
Maybe not brutal, but not kind.
We haven't been kind. But I feel like that is the other extreme of what a lot of other people have been doing, just acting like this is like the greatest show that ever happened. I can't believe it's been canceled. And I think the cancellation, if it wasn't canceled, like if someone had come out and said it's renewed for a second season, I feel like the responses would be a little different. There wouldn't be this sense of travesty where everyone's like, it's so good. It was taken so young.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we're the minority here. People really loved this show, and they loved it like from the get-go. And granted, it was canceled basically as it came out. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I'm pretty sure episode 1 was aired. No, did episode 1 even air before it was canceled?
I'm not sure.
I think it was like after week 1 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But it was right there in that vicinity. I don't know, man. People really liked the show. We just couldn't get into it.
Yeah,
and yeah, there may be some people that just liked it because it was, they thought, I think there was like a little bit of response of people who thought this is the Swamp Thing universe. There's so much you can do, and oh my God, it's already going to be taken away.
Yeah.
And then through the course of the series, those same people saw these little seedlings of things that they were, that they could have done, like the Blue Devil and Phantom Stranger and
I get it, man.
The Rot and all that, and Woodrow and all that, but. There was a ton they could have done.
Yeah,
but they.
I wanted to see more of that. I mean, I understand that, like I've lived through Constantine season 1.
Yeah. No, wait. I lived through Constantine season 1.
Yeah, you did.
You were talked into it afterwards.
I was talked into it, but I still watched it and was sad that none of the other stuff is much the same, as we have here. I knew all along that it was done.
See, I was the other guy, the small group of people that didn't know it was canceled and were watching and then figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Constantine from episode 1, and then along the way it was, damn it, man, you're gonna take this away. This is doing good stuff.
And to be fair, with Swamp Thing, even though it had not been officially canceled, all of the reports of it being drastically cut from 13 to 10 episodes did not bode well for a second series.
No. I think there's a casual viewer though that was watching it. There's gonna be a percentage of casual viewers that were watching it weren't really privy about the news and didn't weren't really checking up on that. Like we knew because we were covering it like a few months before it came out that it was having trouble in production. that they were going to cut episodes. That the brass and the people on the ground were not having were not seeing an eye to eye at all. Like there was serious discontentment on set.
That's a good point. I think you've inadvertently stumbled upon that I would like to pose to the listener. Is there any such thing as a DC Universe subscriber who is a quote-unquote casual viewer?
I don't mean filthy casual. I mean someone who doesn't bother picking up the news, but still watches the DC Universe original shows.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a thing.
Well, and you're not going to find it here on our feed, probably.
No, you're not going to find it here.
But it's probably out there. It's got to be.
I would assume somebody
that's got time to sit down and watch the shows and wants to watch them, but doesn't really have time to sit down and listen to all the news.
Well, look, as far as Swamp Thing is concerned, I did start to like it more around episode 5.
Yeah,
and
I need to pull up the episodes just so I know where I am.
And I've already pulled up. I've pulled up the episodes here on Wikipedia, and it's kind of funny and apropos. On episodes 1 through 5. It does have a little notation here that says, may be too long or excessively detailed.
Nice.
And I'm like, well, doesn't that just say it all?
Yeah, that's actually about right. I mean, all right, starting at the beginning here.
Mm-hmm.
The pilot, I wasn't put off by the pilot. It did one thing that I was particularly happy with, where by the end of this pilot, I got to see Swamp Thing, and a really good looking Swamp Thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid it was going to be, halfway through the season before I got to even see the guy. So it seemed like it started off strong. Abby had a good, I liked Abby Arcane going in. She had a good background. She seemed incredibly competent and full of agency. So it wasn't like I was going to be just following her around for no reason. They were really going to base the story around her and let her move the story, and that was going to be good because Swamp Thing could kind of move in and out of the story and be a horror portion of the show, and that was going to work. And they did. It was a horror show, which isn't necessarily our thing, which is one of the things that may have put us off a little bit. But
no, I don't think that put me off completely. Like I don't mind something being horror, but I also don't like it to be gross out horror necessarily. Like unless it's funny.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but even that,
Evil Dead's one thing.
Yeah,
but
I always feel like there has to be a caveat for Evil Dead. Like it's its own thing. It doesn't any opinion I cite, Evil Dead doesn't apply to it.
That's fair.
Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi, they have my heart.
They have a little pocket they can exist in outside of everything else. Yeah, like episode 1, I wasn't unhappy with. And then it just seemed like the story slowed down dramatically after that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's where was it? All right, he speaks. Great. Worlds Apart. We know. Wasn't it in Worlds Apart like episode 2? I want to say, or was it episode 3? Somewhere in 2 or 3, they do the little thing where he pulls the little flower out of his palm.
I don't know.
And somewhere in those first few episodes, he pulls the little flower out of his palm, and he didn't even know how he was doing it, but it's like some hallucinogen, and she can see see him again. I think that was in the early episodes. I think
I remember that happening, but I don't know if it was in episode 3. I feel like it maybe should have happened in episode 3, but I think it looks like Abby finds Susie and Swamp Thing together. I don't think she's actually like talked to him at this point.
Maybe it might have been in He Speaks, which is why I'm thinking episode 3. Anyway, so little moments like that where he's discovering himself, that was great. But the big thing that fell really silent for me was like I didn't care at all about that sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
Just at all about her son, the Sunderland storyline in general.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell was happening with, and maybe this is because the show was truncated or something, but the whole thing with Shauna's ghost.
Yeah, the other thing was like they made a huge deal out of Shauna in the first episode. Mm-hmm. That was her name, right? The girl who committed suicide?
Or she accidentally did.
Was it accidentally? Yeah. They do a huge deal about the Sunderlands blaming Abby and all this.
Well, no, it turned out she was killed by an evil force that pulled her underwater.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sorry.
Of course.
Just the disgust in that, of course.
Yeah, like, of course there was some evil force that we didn't really... Here's all I remember about her storyline. We see her. It's a huge deal for the Sunderlands, of course. They lost a daughter. They blame Abby completely. The storyline gets washed away, so to speak, for episodes. Abby and Sunderland don't really have anything to do with each other, or Abby and the Sunderlands in general don't really have much to do with each other. Mm-hmm. They start doing their own fight amongst themselves thing. And then really the next time she's relevant is at the end when, what's her name? Maria?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, when Maria's in the, it's not even an insane asylum. It's like a psychiatric hold somewhere where unrealistically she's been held. That's one of those, I hate it when they do that. I really hate it when they do that. Oh, we've declared you insane. You really can't do that. That's not a thing.
How does that work?
It doesn't. That's how that works. It doesn't work.
It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Unless if somebody has declared that they're going, like if you've got a close family member that's declared that they're about to harm themselves or that they may harm other people, in certain situations, you can maybe get them held for a limited period of time. You are not, without bribing, bribing straight up the line, everybody who could possibly be involved, you're not going to get somebody committed to anything long term, especially putting them on so many meds that they're going to go crazy. No fucking way. It's a stupid thing that they do. It's a stupid trope that people use, and there's no realism behind it. Well, I say that these days.
Yeah.
Go back 150 years, and you could just go to the doctor and be like, "Well, my wife's getting a bit uppity," and then she's in there, man. It's over. You can't do it these days. Yeah, that's the only time I saw the Shauna even used, and it had all this emotional weight up front, and then they use her image later to kind of put Maria in a little detention. Like Xanadu gives her a little happy space to exist in. You're like, okay, well, I guess maybe she gets a happy ending in this. But other than that, it was just, there was a lot lost there. And it seemed like a story they never got to build to. And then they just used a version of her to wrap up something really quickly.
Yeah, well, the title of that episode was Loose Ends.
Mm-hmm. I have never seen a more aptly titled episode in my damn life. I mean, really, go through character for character almost. Like, all right, the major characters are the ones who are supposed to be major characters, like Swamp Thing. We don't know. The whole thing ends with Swamp Thing and Abby just saying, like, she decides to stay for whoever this version of Alec is. Mm-hmm. Even though it's definitely not Alec because he buried himself an episode ago. She decides to stay with Swamp Thing, and they're going to take on whatever comes. Great. I mean, that by itself might be a fun ending for like a season. But what you've left on the table is you've got a Blue Devil who basically gets like a scene and then scampers away Benny Hill style, naked.
So the whole reason he was there for so long was just to save Abby that one time and then leave.
Abby and I forget her friend's name.
Yeah,
Liz.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Liz. Yeah, Liz. All right, so Abby and Liz are going to die. Phantom Stranger, apparently the entire time the entire reason Phantom Stranger popped himself into this whole narrative was to save those two that day. And he has to do it by using Cassidy, who he turns into the Blue Devil. In that part alone, if you'd told me like, hey, somewhere in the show, Phantom Stranger is going to show up and turn Daniel Cassidy into the Blue Devil, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's watch that. Mm-hmm. But then if you're going to tell me, oh, it's going to happen on episode 9 of 10 in a truncated season that is going to be the last season, I would have told you, oh, go fuck yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, some of the moments that are good, like him being Blue Devil, there being a Phantom Stranger at all.
Who, for some reason, looks like the freaking manager of The Undertaker. Freaking pallbearer.
Really does a little bit.
Just like, whoa, I'm the Phantom Stranger. Like, no, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't dig the casting, but I was just happy to see a Phantom Stranger of any kind.
Yeah.
The fact that he exists, the fact that there is a Swamp Thing, the fact that they even showed the rot, these are all great. It's just, when you know you have a truncated season, why are we wasting our time on the Sheriff and Sutherlands? Why?
Well, because as I understand it, they were canceled as they were in production of episode 10, and they thought they had 2 or 3 more episodes. They thought they had 13 episodes, and they were canceled at episode 10. So they had to reshoot some stuff, literally rewrite and reshoot some stuff to try to wrap it up in episode 10.
Oh, that at least explains why the first half of the season feels wasted.
Mm-hmm. They thought
I'll give them that.
They thought they had more time. They're like Ollie.
Give them that.
They're like Ollie talking to the monitor. I thought I had more time.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll give them that. That leaves the really frustrating thing then being why the teaser? Why that stinger?
I don't know. I think because I personally, and the stinger is, in case you didn't watch it, is Matt Cable coming into the police department, and Jason Woodrue has totally Swamp Thinged out, and he is the Floronic Man, and he presumably attacks Matt Cable. Well, he does attack him, presumably kills him, and he's full on Floronic Man. I think the idea is, hey, we spent all the money on this prosthetic. This is probably something they filmed early on as far as the episode goes. And they went, well, we spent all the money on it. And
might as well let them see it.
It's kind of like the end point for that character arc. So
I'll give him this.
And there was nowhere, if you think about it, there was nowhere to put it in that final episode except for after the credits. Not really.
No, I mean, they would have had to reshoot him turning into that while he was still at the Sunderland's house. Wasn't it Sunderland's house? Anyway, and while he was still, or his house.
Yeah, and you didn't really get much of that anyway.
No. I mean, if he had turned into it there, they could have had, like, if they had had time, they could have, I guess, turned him into a Floronic Man there and had a little Floronic Man Swamp Thing standoff.
Yeah, there's a lot of conjecture that he was supposed to be the bad guy at the very end of this season. Like, that he was supposed to be the last 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, I can see that. Because they definitely kind of take Sunderland out of the picture pretty hard. Also, whatever paramilitary organization that's trying to get Swamp Thing, he takes care of them pretty well. Mm-hmm. Ripped off poor Busey's jaw.
That was awesome.
That was He wasn't playing around anymore kind of moment.
I wish someone would put together a supercut of all the ways that the Buseys have died in the movies or been injured, because I feel like it's a lot. Like,
it is probably a lot, yeah.
I remember old Jake Busey getting his hand stabbed in Starship Troopers. Put your hand on that wall, soldier.
Yeah.
If the enemy's hand is incapacitated, he cannot fire a weapon.
Been a long time. I do remember that, though. Couldn't have told you it was Busey.
Oh, yeah. It was Jake. Yeah, like, I liked the last few episodes, I guess. I feel like Anatomy Lesson was pretty good.
That one, I liked the content, but I kept being taken out by it over and over again.
Why so?
There was stuff that just...
Was it Phantom Stranger, Blue Devil?
No, little choices in it I didn't like. I mean, and simple stuff too, like it like a night and day change in continuity between when
yes, I noticed that.
Liz and when Abby and Liz go into that secret location. I thought it was it. All right, another thing. Abby's a CDC badass, and she's not the one who figures out you can look up property records. Mm-hmm. And good for Liz, but they look up property records and they happen to find photos. You can't. I mean, that's not a real thing. I mean, you can find property records with photos, but you don't really find that much. And you're gonna happen to find a photo of the property that they've got, and then they pull it up and they have to look at it, and they almost have to like hold them next to each other, like a child realizing that the circle hole has a circle on the other side, and they need to put them together. It was like it happened really slowly and kind of made them both look a little bit foolish.
Mm-hmm. I'll agree with that.
It looked like kids playing at detective.
I will agree with that. Yes, sir.
And then the two things really got me there, and toward the end too. The day and night change was weird, but then Abby and Liz showing up that first take when they get shot. Mm-hmm. It just nothing about it made sense. Like Liz just runs out the door to do what? Mm-hmm. And then they both get shot in one of the most unrealistic shooting sequences I think I remember in a long time. It looked like kids playing, going like bang bang bang. Oh, I'm dead. It threw me out. It looked weird and off. And then you go from that to some really cool shots of Blue Devil. I mean, some really cool kind of quasi shots. You didn't really get to see too much of them, but that can be a cool thing. So, I kind of liked what we got of Blue Devil. And then I just kind of didn't like the choice that when it's done, he changes back. And he just like I said earlier, it's like Benny Hill style, runs away from the crime scene. Like if you'd played the like, it kept throwing me out.
Mm-hmm. I can see that, yeah. I feel like Ian Ziering was wasted on the show. And by wasted, I mean, he's not a good actor, but his character was wasted. Like, I like Blue Devil.
Oh, yeah. I love Blue Devil. They didn't get to do enough of him. And again, yeah, if you're right, then that they had, I guess episode 9 would have been in the bag.
Yeah.
Then they thought they were going to really ramp it up over the next few episodes, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know at what stage in editing those last few were in either. They may have been altered. There's no way to know.
Some edits. I don't know either. But the parts of that episode that were really good were like the actual anatomy lesson itself.
Yeah. Woodrue and Swamp Thing.
That was good.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good. And the end, like Woodrue and his wife, when he comes in and he's super excited. Like, by the way, he was enthralling. There were times where I thought like maybe he's pushing too far with this, and then I don't know what would happen. Like I'd wonder like, man, I wonder if that guy's kind of about to push this too far. And for some reason, he kept pushing the line with how he's doing that character, and every time I kind of loved it.
Yeah, he's kind of just doing walking
a little bit.
But I felt like he was doing that on Lost, but in a completely different way.
Yeah. He's definitely got the frame to literally do walking if he wanted to, but
I mean,
yeah, he did. He had a weird. I know.
He looks like walking.
His actual frame. He's that big. Yeah, he had a weird. I don't know. He had a weird tone to him, like this overexcited. Like always looked like he had popped 2 or 3 Adderall right before he starts talking, which worked for him. Yeah, when he comes back and he's all excited about, I finally found it, and he finds that she's OD'd because he left her alone too long, and she took her medicine. Like that was a good scene. It
was a good scene. I'm not sure I believed it, but it was played well.
Believed it in the sense that
I don't know. It seemed like, okay, so the day that he's doing all this with Swamp Thing and he's coming home to like presumably cure her is the same day that she did,
Oh, I mean it's on the nose, but there's nothing unbelievable about it. It just happens to have happened the day. It's not that it just happened to have happened that day. Mm-hmm. It's that he left her alone And they kind of make a point of pointing out that like he comes home and he runs right back out again. He left her alone unattended, and you cannot leave patients like that unattended for too long. They will run into trouble.
Right.
And in her case, he left her alone for longer than he should have, and it was a consequence rather than a coincidence, I think.
That's a good point. And
they'd actually seeded that earlier in the series where he
they did.
Does the like take your medicine line.
Oh, I mean, and I noticed it when they did it, and I was just like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. I think, that part actually played.
Yeah. What's weird is I kept thinking that I would get used to Avery Sutherland, and I just never did. I hate it because I like Will Patton as an actor. I actually do. Whatever he's doing here.
I don't know how much I know him from, but it didn't. Yeah, I could not get this one to stick with me.
I mean, my wife and I have a lot of fun doing Avery in the house. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch us a little blind spot. Maybe we'll call little Susie out of her room. I bet she wants to see Blind Spot. Oh, Maria.
Over some turtle soup.
Turtle soup. Yeah, we're always talking about turtle soup. Yeah. Like, oh, what you want for supper, hon? Let's get some turtle soup. Like we that's become a whole thing with us.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't have anyone around here to do that with.
I'm so sorry, man.
But
making your wife watch that is not worth it, though.
No, I mean she doesn't.
You love your wife, right?
Has no stomach for body horror at all, and this thing is definitely in the realm of it.
Yeah,
and there's nothing here where I can tell her like, oh, it's got a big payoff. It doesn't. It doesn't have a good payoff.
No, it doesn't.
Like at best, you got a couple good moments with Xanadu, a couple good moments with Blue Devil, who by the way just drives out of the town after all this.
Yeah,
I have no reason to believe he was there for the last 3 episodes if they'd gotten to do the season. I mean, you did get to actually see Swamp Thing be Swamp Thing for a while. That's cool. But my wife wouldn't give a hot damn about that.
Yeah, like when Swamp Thing was being Swamp Thing and like killing people and stuff in the woods and shit, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, when he was really stretching his wings and throwing splinters of trees at people and shit. Yeah, that was cool.
And I'll say like I could probably legitimately take the show, cut out all the stuff I didn't like, and make like a 15-minute short film that's awesome.
Yeah. I think you could cut out, of the 10 episodes you had, I think you could cut it down to about 5 really fucking cool episodes. That would leave you thinking, man, they have to come back and do another version of this show.
But, most of the Sutherland stuff would be gone.
Basically everything about the sheriff and her son. That didn't pay off.
How much do you love him going to the hospital and being like, I put Marie in the hospital. We can be together. We'll be a family. I'm like,
that was so dumb.
And as smart as that dude seems to be and as conniving and crafty. He was
super drunk at the time.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. But she's like, I was so glad that they had her say what I was thinking. She's like, you stabbed him. We're not. There's no version of this where we're a happy family.
There's no going forward with this.
Oh, but we gonna be a family. Oh, and like me and my wife couldn't figure out what the hell happened to little Susie. Where did she go?
I don't know.
I'm just so. Someone remind me what happened to little Susie.
I don't remember. I'm not even convinced y'all didn't just riff that up.
Oh no, little Susie was there. She was the little girl, that was hiding out with Swamp Thing, and then the Sutherlands took her in.
Abandoned that entirely, I thought.
Yeah, like she.
Yeah, I think she's still upstairs somewhere waiting for Turtle Soup.
Yeah, she was like possessed for a minute, and I think maybe Abby
Maria's
got her back.
In the hospital, and Avery is super preoccupied. She's probably just starved to death upstairs.
I want to say Abby took her somewhere.
Maybe. You think that'd be a problem? I mean, after all the emotion early on, you'd think there'd be another scene about like, oh, you killed my first little girl and you're stealing my other one.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have time for all that. Son of them was busy getting neutered by a paramilitary force.
Did you? You know what?
All then get killed.
I did like it after the sheriff rebuffs Avery, and then she gets in her car like an idiot, not checking because she knows that Avery's a piece of shit. Like that was kind of brutal. The way he just like skewered her from the back seat.
It wasn't so much brutal as unbelievable.
It was still cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was a neat shot.
It was a really neat shot, and I went, "Oh, damn!" It like took me off guard. But then I
don't blame her for not looking at her back seat. Who does that? I mean,
I mean, well, if you got someone like Avery around every corner and,
Yeah, but you don't know that. You just sent him home drunk. Feel like he was drunk enough probably that she thought, he maybe not. He maybe just found a bed in the hospital.
But that is not the nature of that relationship. Like,
I mean, yeah, I agree.
you just tried
you
to
did
kill
just try
him.
to kill the guy.
He stabbed your son, so you know he's capable of it. Now he's drunk, which means he's probably way more dangerous, and has just wandered up to the hospital to profess his undying love for you and suggest that you all be a family now. I'm checking my back seat.
I mean, maybe. And then, you see the condensation and you wonder what's going on with that. But then you're still thinking like, well, I wonder if there's something wrong with my car. Oh, no. I can buy not looking in the back seat because maybe he was drunk. Maybe you were thinking, I don't know what's gotten into him, but, he's in I want to start a family mode, so maybe he's not a threat. I don't know.
Look, I mean, you can
Maybe there's all
headcanon
that.
it. You can headcanon it because Flashdance was completely had no judgment skills anyway. She shouldn't have even been sheriff. From the first time you realize that she's boinking Avery, you're like, oh God, that's gross. What is wrong with you?
In this town though, that's possibly why she was sheriff. We don't. I mean,
Maybe.
he had it appeared he had pretty full control over that town. I mean, he shows up at the city council meeting and just basically stiff arms the whole crowd. But I can believe almost everything. I don't think you could stab through the driver's seat of my Altima, much less a cop car. There's no metal plating anywhere. I mean, I'm not talking an armored car. I'm just thinking, can you stab through the back seat of a car, through the seat of a car?
Maybe, but
I'm tempted to go to a junkyard and find out.
But the thing that I was hung up on was not can you stab through the back seat of a car, because for all I know, he may have had altered strength from whatever that thing was that Swamp Thing threw inside of him.
Maybe, but
here's my question: where did he get the sword?
It was not a knife.
No, that wasn't a knife.
For sure,
because
that can't be.
That knife wouldn't have gone through both the seat and her.
I mean, she's got to be at least a good 8 inches thick. Plus another 2 or 3 inches worth of armor and padding and all that crap.
Well, small town sheriff. Maybe she doesn't have all that.
Yeah, she's at least got clothes on. Let's say she's 8 inches.
Mm-hmm.
The car seat's another, at least 6 to 7 inches, probably.
Yeah.
You've got a 15-inch knife.
A machete,
I don't know, a
maybe?
15-inch knife. Yeah, maybe a machete. But that is awkward.
Mm-hmm. Where were you
Try to
hiding
get your hand. Yeah, try to get your arm so far back with a machete that you can propel it through a body and a car seat.
Now, that's a good point.
He better have had that strength.
Maybe she had a machete.
That's an awkward stab.
Maybe she had the machete in her back seat from when they were out in the swamp.
I wouldn't blame, given the swamp as much as it's portrayed in the show, I wouldn't blame anyone for just keeping a machete around.
Mm-hmm.
Also, general question about the show.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the swamps look pretty great. I kind of wondered how they built those sets.
I think they shot in a swamp.
I think no fucking way.
Okay.
And my question is this. Where are the gators?
Well, I think if a little girl can't survive in that swamp because of the rot, I think the rot's probably going to eat all the gators.
They can't. You think Swamp Thing's going to let all the gators go? No. They're part of the ecosystem.
Well, he probably didn't. I mean, he just became Swamp Thing.
Yeah, and he got pretty good at it really quick.
Yeah.
2 episodes in, he's growing flower. He's growing perfectly ripe plums.
Yeah, they do all the wrong things quickly.
I think it was shot on a set of some kind because I don't think you could clear out a swamp well enough to actually shoot in it. Also, there's so many fucking bugs.
Maybe.
I don't think you could clear out a shot just the bugs alone, much less the indigenous water life at night, or even if you did faux night. I still think no damn way. Also, wasn't it shot in North Carolina? It doesn't have. It was shot in the Carolinas. They don't have swamps. They might have some bogs. I don't think so.
I don't know.
I really don't think so. Been to the Carolinas a lot of times, and they're mountains.
Well, yeah, but there are also valleys where they're gross lakes and shit. I mean...
Yeah, but to get swamps, I think you have to get way down to sea level. I don't think North or South Carolina is that close to sea level, except when you actually get to a beach.
I don't know.
I'm going with no.
Okay.
Which brings me back to even... All right, if it was shot on site, I'd like to know how they got rid of the gators. If it was shot in a swamp. And if it wasn't, I'd like to know... Were they expecting me to not, at some point during all these night scenes, think, why is there not a gator?
Yeah.
It frustrated me the whole time.
I'm sorry, man. I'm okay with there not being gators.
I mean, I've been through Louisiana swamps on tours at least, and they have gator tours. They can just take you to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're that readily available.
Yeah, I think at the very least parts of it were probably filmed in the woods and stuff.
Yeah, I mean the woods were far more believable than the swamp part.
regardless, I do think there's no way of getting around the fact there was probably a set that was a swamp.
I think that was my guess is how they tackled that was the part that actually had water on it was set, but there's plenty of woods in the Carolinas to mess with, and you can put some more indigenous life in post if you want to. You are going to be adding all the Swamp Thing life to it. Why not throw in some stuff that's in Louisiana that's not in or whatever Carolina it was in?
Mm-hmm.
What else we got?
Let's see. It's probably a terrible noise. I had something on my mind and now it's gone. I think I accidentally got rid of that when I was thinking about Avery just going to the hospital and like leaning his machete up against the wall outside the door before he walks in.
Oh, you think he just went in there with the backup plan?
It was just a funny image in my head of him like putting a machete and like either leaning it up against the door or like putting it in the umbrella bin beside the door.
Just the height of domestic violence asshole thinking, well, I'll see if she does me, and if she doesn't, I'll kill her. With this machete.
Yeah, with this here machete here. Oh, Marie. Let me think, though. Oh, yeah, that was probably aside from the pacing of the show and how just monotonous it was, my biggest issue is how quickly Abby fell for Alec. To where it's like they're trying to act like, by the end of the show that she's like, that he was just like some great love of hers or something. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. Like they met for like 5 minutes.
They kept going back to it like they were making sacrifices for each other. And
she's like, the man I knew for 5 minutes. The man you knew
had a
for
drink
5 minutes.
Well, I mean, they worked together, I guess, briefly. She did grow to trust him.
For some reason.
Well, she walked into a weird situation. He seemed to know what was going on rather than anyone else, so she decided to work with him. They had a drink together and shared a couple of, I guess, they shared some moments, but nothing overtly romantic or anything. Like, they were just having a drink and getting to know each other as people working on a problem, and then he's just gone. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that was it. That was all they really had, though. Right. After that, it was just her trying to figure out what happened to him, and then when she does figure out what happened to him, she's suddenly like, ride or die.
Yeah, it was just too much too soon. I would have liked to have seen more of a working relationship. Give us a montage. Go watch a Rocky movie. Figure out how to make a montage work. Really sell me on the relationship. That's what I'm getting at. If they come back for some reason, if there's another Swamp Thing and they change up showrunners or have new directives, I'll be on board. I'll be willing to watch it and check it out, obviously. If they do a Justice League Dark and bring over this version of Swamp Thing and Abby, dude, I love Crystal Reed, dude. I love her. I'll take it.
Yeah. No, she's great. As parts of her story got left on the table, and parts of it was like, yeah, did we really earn that?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think we're good here. What do you think?
Yep.
All right.
I don't know how much more we can do. We also accidentally did 10 minutes on the last show about it. So
yeah. So I'm looking forward to Stargirl.
Mm-hmm. Whenever that happens.
You know what? Before we take off, I'm on the new episode of Captain Game Show. So it's a podcast. It's really fun. I just got a notification as we were recording that it is online. It is up. And I'll provide a link in the show notes. And we'll probably have that on all of our social media as well. All right. Until next time, keep some DC on your screen. Our intro music is by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Galactic Engineers of Magnetic Sounds, or GEMS, can be found on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Visit DCOnScreen.com to find our Patreon, merch, contact information, and every episode of the show for free, including crossovers we've done with other podcasts. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. For more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, vlogs, parodies, and our improvised web series Hey Guy, visit maladjusted.tv.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger. Because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.